We're going to be talking a little bit this hour with Mimi Steele, and then we'll have some time for open lines as well. Mimi has been with us before. She is president of SF Bay CAPR, that's Citizens Alliance for Property Rights, CAPR, and also the founder of Bay Area Liberty. She is very active in all of the property rights issues. We've talked about Agenda 21. We've talked about One Bay Area. We've talked about all the changes that are going on around us. I happened to notice in an article that somebody sent me from a Contra Costa newspaper that serves the La Marinda area, which is Lafayette, Moraga, and Orinda. And their headline in their Friday, July 6th edition is Homeless Shelter Plan in Talks. And they modify it by saying the building is not necessarily part of a state-required plan. But the planning commissioners in the town of Lafayette are looking at possibly where they could build an emergency homeless shelter in their city where temporary housing could be located. Now, there's a state requirement. It doesn't actually mean a shelter has to be built, but it's the 2007 California Housing Accountability Act where cities have to designate a zoning district where emergency shelters are allowed, quote, by right. In other words, they're entitled to it for homeless people and others in need. And they have to do that within 1 year of adopting their housing element of their plan for the city. And the housing element is a state-required plan for providing, quote, affordable housing, whatever that means. Now, the state at this point doesn't require you to build a shelter, but, you know, I'm a little bit skeptical because they're not doing it now, but it doesn't mean they won't do it later. And they are concerned about where it should be. It will have 30 or fewer beds, and a number expressed by the 2011 homeless count by the Contra Costa Homeless Program, identifying 9 homeless persons within Lafayette. 9. Wonder where they found them. Wandering around the streets, I guess. The plan would allow housing for a maximum of 6 months per calendar year. The facilities would include personal storage areas, a laundry area, parking spaces for cars and bikes. If you're homeless, you have a car? Why don't you live in your car? People have done that for years. And bikes. Any structure would go through the city's design review process before a building permit would be issued. And then they talked about whether or not religious institutions, they have temporary shelter but not year-round shelter. So this is where the state is coming in, the government's coming in and telling you what you have to have in your city. It's just the beginning. You ain't seen nothing yet. With us right now to give us kind of a heads up on what is going on in all of this is Mimi Steele. I told you who she is, and she's with us right now. Hi, Mimi.
Hi, Barbara. I want to thank you so much for covering these topics. They are really important, and you're getting a lot of fans in the Bay Area for spending the time on this.
Well, you know, I try to make people realize, and I've said it before and I'll say it again, because I get emails from people saying, you have Mimi on, and, you know, I live here and she's talking about there, so, you know, it's boring. Well, it applies to everybody. When you're talking about the Bay Area, you're talking about the 9 counties of the Bay Area. That's just everybody within our immediate listening area, no question.
Exactly. And I want to follow up on your article that you just read. I always tell people that the plan is the presumption. So
what do you mean?
Once they force you to put something in the plan, even though you don't have to build it right now,
right,
it's in there legally. And so you have a situation that was very similar that happened to Pleasanton, where they were told that they had to designate a priority development area for low-income housing. It's called a PDA. Mm-hmm. They didn't build it. They were told, well, you don't have to build it. And then one of these organizations, this one particularly happened to be called Urban Habitat, they came in and sued the city of Pleasanton because they hadn't built it. So your city is in a very awkward position, because once they start designating these things by law in their housing element, even if they don't build them, they let themselves open to lawsuits, and it's very, very dangerous.
Did you, I don't know the outcome of that. Did they, in fact, win or lose the lawsuit?
What happened was at the trial level, Urban Habitat won $2 million from the city of Pleasanton.
Wow.
The city of Pleasanton sort of threw in the towel. The city fathers decided, hey, we don't want to run the risk of taking this to the next level, and so they settled. And in addition to giving $2 million to Urban Habitat, now they have $10 million that they're doing to build this housing. So
they were left with, they have to build the housing, and then they have to pay off this outfit.
Exactly. It's a great opportunity for lawyers. It's the lawyer Full Employment Act.
Well, the environmental movement is known for that, because every time they sue on something, they get paid. All their fees are paid. So, if the Nature Conservancy or any of these other organizations get in, Greenpeace and what have you, get involved, that all of their fees are going to be paid, but it's the local municipalities who are going to get screwed.
Exactly. So what I wanted to talk to you about today was give everybody an update on what's happening with the One Bay Area Plan.
Please.
That is a 25-year plan that combines housing, transportation, and land use. And it is being promoted by two organizations. One is the Metropolitan Transit Commission, MTC, and the other one is the Association of Bay Area Governments, ABAG. Mm-hmm. And these organizations talk about mission creep. These organizations were founded originally for some very specific purposes. MTC was there to say, if you're building a road in Contra Costa County, you want to make sure it connects with Alameda, right? So we want to make sure that there's some coordination in our transportation systems. Okay, that makes sense. I go for that. And Association of Bay Area Governments originally started out as an organization that said, hey, if we pull all these cities together, we can buy insurance cheaply and other things. So that's how they started. What they've become now is they've morphed into these regional governance organizations. They are not elected officials for those positions. MTC, in fact, is completely bureaucrats. The Association of Bay Area Governments are elected officials in your city that have been appointed to the Association of Bay Area Governments, but you don't have much control over getting rid of those people.
Right.
And what they've done is, by state law, again, you got to go back to where this is coming from. It's coming from the controlling law is AB 32, which is the California cap and trade law, and then under that is SB 375, and that's the law that says that we have to reduce our greenhouse gases. So One Bay Area Plan is put in place, and the objective of the One Bay Area Plan is to help reduce greenhouse gases by combining housing, land use, and transportation. And they are in the process right now. This process has been going on for quite a while. There have been hearings and visioning sessions, and we've had lots of people going to these things.
Now, this is the whole Bay Area. So if somebody is down in the peninsula or they're way up in the North Bay, they're all affected by this. A big city or a tiny little community, right?
Absolutely. It's all one plan for all 9 counties. And the thing I want to stress too is, they call it One Bay Area. Well, what does Sonoma have in common with San Francisco? But what they're trying to do is cookie cutter these templates of how your city should look, and it's just very frustrating sometimes to talk about. But what's happening in this process is they are required by SB 375 to get public input. And there have been a lot of great citizens who are up to speed on this, and they've been showing up at the meetings, and they've been raising objections, and nobody has incorporated their objections or their comments into any of the documents when they go and brief these people who are going to vote on moving this plan forward. We are now in the stage called the Environmental Impact Review stage. Mm-hmm. And this is the first stage. We're in the scoping stage of it. And what they did was 2 weeks ago they had public hearings. They had 5 public hearings. 4 of them were during the day. Only 1 was in the evening. And the citizens, again, got up and complained, and were pretty much told, hey, we're going to pick and choose the comments that we want to hear. So what we've done is we've set up a petition, and I know you've told me that a lot of people call in and tell you, hey, Mimi's just making this up. Well, I put on my website, if people go to bayarealiberty.org, there is actually a link to the document that was briefed. It's called EIR Public Presentation Slides. and people can go right to my website and go to that document and see the slides that were presented, where they list out what the issues are in the EIR. So one of the main things that we objected to was the fact that supposedly this is to help protect the environment, but one of the parts of the plan says we're going to waive the environmental requirements if you build a project to our specs.
Well, it's sort of like Jerry Brown wanting the high-speed rail to be built and waiving all of the environmental requirements on that because we really want to get this thing built, so never mind the environment.
Exactly. You have to wonder where these people are coming from when they like that when they have a project that they want, they're happy to waive the requirements. Mm-hmm. But if you're not one of their favored projects, then you have to go through all the process.
Right.
So the types of projects that they're going to do that have this exemption are the ones that go in these priority development areas. They have to have a combination of shops on the bottom and residents on top, and they have to be close to a mass transit area.
So it's like this infill housing, it's like the transit villages, it's all of that, right?
It's all of that, exactly.
That's amazing. And this is going on everywhere. I do know of one individual who is in local government who referred to the fact that these people were asking the governments to send in their opinions and thoughts and suggestions, and said, why bother? They never listen to us anyway. So they're aware of the fact that they're not being listened to.
Well, you can take that attitude of why bother, but you know what? Our freedom is at stake.
Yeah.
And I'm not exaggerating. It really is at stake at this point. And what we're trying to do, we're paying the bills, but we don't have the money and the power behind us right now. It's all with the other guys. So we're doing we're doing the best that we can. And again, on my website, there is a petition that you can go to. Just click on it. It's a little box there, and the petition is called Extend the Deadline on the One Bay Area EIR Scoping. And here's the reason we're doing that. They did this whole process in less than 2 weeks.
Wow.
The public comments close on July 11th. And the people that are going to vote on this are going to vote on it.
That's Wednesday.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the people that are going to vote on this are going to vote on it on the 13th and then send it for final vote to the supervisors on the 19th. So what they've done is they really are trying to push this through as quickly as possible. And I think I told you on one other program, I came up with the 3 things they're counting on. They're counting on our ignorance, our apathy, or our isolation. And we're not ignorant, we're not apathetic, and we're not isolated.
And part of the problem is that people have to be informed. And quite honestly, you're really not getting this information in the newspapers. I mean, I look at the local papers. I don't, read every word in every paper, but I do it just to have an idea of what is going on. And quite frankly, you're not getting this. So even if you were interested in knowing what's going on, you couldn't possibly know because it's not there.
Barbara, that's why your program is so valuable. And as I said, we are so happy that you're allowing the time to cover this in enough depth that at least people will start looking and getting involved. So what we're trying to do with this petition is get as many signatures as possible. The objective of the petition is to say, hey, there are people that object to this plan. You're rushing it through too quickly. We need another 6 months to a year to do this properly.
Let me ask you this specifically. Just give me, in 2 sentences, what is the plan that they're rushing through?
Okay, the plan that they're rushing through, there's basically 2 components. The overall plan is the One Bay Area plan that's going to require all the building and future development in the Bay Area to be in these high-density areas next to mass transit.
Okay.
It's going to divert all of the funding into mass transit projects. So all your road money is going to go to buses and trains and all of this other stuff that nobody ever uses. So that's the plan. To do the plan, they have to do the environmental impact report. Mm-hmm. So what there's a lot of places to attack this. This particular place we're attacking right now is the environmental impact report. We're trying to stall them, is the bottom line.
Right.
So if people go, they sign the petition, what we're going to do is send the petition in, and it's going to be really hard for them to say people don't object to this if they have a petition with several hundred signatures.
Okay, so get the petition and read about it. Go to your Bay Area Liberty.org. Okay, very good on that. Just one more quick question in terms of communities looking into their carbon footprint and coming up with some type of climate plan or something. This is going on in every community around, again, in this 9-county Bay Area. Are any communities objecting to it, and how are they objecting, and are they successful in objecting?
You know, I don't know the answer to the climate plan issue. I do know that people are objecting to an organization called the International Council of Local Environmental Initiatives, also called that's ICLEI for short. They also call themselves Local Governments for Sustainability because they wanted to take international out of their title. But I think what's important about this is that ICLEI has actually come up with a template for these climate plans. And if you follow this template, first of all, they're using very old data. One of the hearings took place last week in Fairfield, and there was a scientist who came up and actually testified, and he was talking about how out of date their information is. And so what we're doing is we're looking at the actual plans that they give to cities and seeing if there's a way we can give them an alternative. A lot of times these cities, they don't know what to do. It's too easy. They just go and take the Word document and put their city name in it, and then all of a sudden they have a climate action plan.
Yeah. Well, someone mentioned to me that I think is it Piedmont who they check their plan for this. In other words, where communities are looking at what your carbon footprint is, which would involve how you deal with waste.
Yep.
Products, how you deal with construction of housing, with water runoff from your property. I mean, everything environmentally about your property. But they adopted it, and their goal is by, I think, within the next 10 years, to have zero waste. Now, how on earth, how are you going to do that? I don't know. I'm going to cart my garbage into Walnut Creek or something. But this is what's happening.
I know, and then if you don't have zero waste, what's the implication of that? I mean, these things are very, very dangerous. A lot of this is really feel good. We're going to protect the environment, but the long range implications for doing this are really we're heading towards tyranny. I don't know how else to say it. I don't know how to put it nicely.
Well, it has to be where people have the courage to stand up. I mean, because all you have to do is say, well, it's a state law. And everybody bows down and kisses the ground. And that's the attitude. There's no question. I've seen it among people I know, and I've seen it in stories and I read in the news about other communities.
That's why we're forming the resistance.
All right. Well, let me give out the information again. Go to either of her name is Mimi Steele, and by the way, if you contact her and you wanted to have her come out and speak to your group, she'll do that and deal with that. You can get on her newsletter, which is free, right? Still free, Mimi?
Exactly. It's still free. They just go to that same website, BayAreaLiberty.org, where the petition is, and scroll down a little further, and there's a thing that you can click that says join, and it's free. I've got a property rights watchdog program. If people like you find information like you just read about this homeless thing, and they want to send it in to me, then we have people in every county in the Bay Area that are standing by that can take this information and start objecting. And that's what we need to do, is we need to start objecting. This is really critical stuff.
And one other quick question, and just a real short answer. This is not just the Bay Area. This is all of California, isn't it?
Yes, it is. In fact, again, SB 375 is the controlling legislation, and there are 17 metropolitan planning areas, just like our MTC and ABAG, all over the state, and they're doing their same type of thing, their equivalent of a one Bay Area plan. So this entire state, and also the same thing is happening throughout the country, but But the thing is, nobody has the laws like we have that are really forcing us into this, and that's why it's really a bad thing.
And also because once California does it, the rest of the country tends to copy us. There's no question.
We're the guinea pigs. We're the canary in the coal mine.